All right. Patch day in the MMO. Welcome to everybody who is joining us here. Corgil, thank you for the subscription. I really do appreciate it. All right. Yeah. So the good news is that the moment I started streaming here, my uncle decided it was a really good time to start weed whacking outside. What a guy. What a guy. I'll give him a pass because he's making burgers tonight. So there's that. Gail, welcome to the stream. Good morning to Patch Day. Patch Day in your MMO. All right. You know what? I'm just going to pop us into live here. All right. Miss Caddy, legendary Caddy, as we'll call her from now on. Let's get a little bit of sound going on here. All right. A little bit of master volume, a little bit of music volume. There we go. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about here with this technology crap. Strength through advertising, absolutely. Hey, welcome everybody to the Patch Day memes. So really got a couple of plans here at this point. In about a half hour, our new content patch is about to drop here. Which I am actually kind of stoked for. There's a couple of things going on that I want to check out. Some changes to world bosses today. Caddy, are you ready to do some fire elemental? I know you are. All right. Yes. Caddy is all ready for some fire elemental. And High Sage, no, which are the ones they're changing? Fire elemental. They aren't changing Shadow Behemoth. They are changing another two more. Anyways, so we'll take a look at those today. That'll be interesting. We will start the new story patch. Well, when I say new story patch, I mean, you know, the story patch from about 8 years ago. And we will do a little bit of that. And then what else will we do today? I think that'll be it. That should keep us busy for a little while anyways. That is the plan. For those of you who have been keeping up on my saga of the Alacrity Condi Tempest, which I was running in Ritualist gear and spending weeks of testing and tuning and figuring it out. Turns out the whole thing is just play better on Celestial. Yeah. So, just in case you were wondering, Celestial, maybe some Traveler runes. We'll rock a Bursting Sigil and a Smoldering Sigil in that. And yeah, it's pretty cozy. That is going to be our video in a few days when I get ready on that. So there is that. Thinking about what else is going on here at this point, other than Caddy running around on her Revenant. Looking pretty stylish. What bow is that? That is... Don't tell me... Well, you know, I don't even know what bow that is. Crazy. What bow is that? Alright, Caddy, let us know. What bow are you rocking on your short bow Revenant? Alright. Restored Boreal. See, I should have known that. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Those weapons, of course, gained on the, whatchamacallit? Where do we get those again? We get those on the Icy Hot map in Bjorn Marches. Mr. Mongoose, Shadow Behemoth, Svanir Chief, Jungle Worm, and Fire Elemental. Are they actually changing Shadow Behemoth as well? Cool. That's actually interesting. Guy Murphy ended up trying Celestial Tempest thanks to your weekend stream and having a blast with it. I tell you what, I'm actually really surprised with this. Guy, if you haven't tried it and you're willing to accept about 10% less DPS, try some Traveler runes in there instead of the Elementalist runes that I was rolling. It is so cozy, and the damage is really strong, really, really strong. So I'm really happy with the Traveler runes in this. I tested about every Condi damage rune that I could try in this yesterday. The highest damage coming from the Elementalist runes and Nightmare runes. But it really is hard to give up everything else that comes with these Traveler runes, to be honest with you. Really, yeah, good. I mean, I'm finding it super cozy, super cozy. Absolutely. Gail, I've seen quite few people talking about Soul Beast changes, so hope some more Soul Beast changes. Uh, hmm, that's interesting. Soul Beast changes. I'm not sure I was aware that any were coming. You know what I should do though? In another, oh, Shadow Behemoth. Sorry. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming there, Mind. Thanks for showing up. Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't know if Shadow Behemoth was on that list, but great. I mean, that'll be interesting. It's funny because I was thinking about the wisdom of this whole thing. I'm pretty critical about this whole period where we are looking at shoring up the base game for Steam, but when it comes to world bosses, I got to think that that's a really good place for them to throw a little bit of development time, because those events make a real impact on new players. Like, I remember the first time I saw Shadow Behemoth. It really just blew my mind, because that's one of those things that you just don't see in other MMOs, and really kind of interesting to see them putting a little bit of shine on those at this point, because I think really at this point the highest level of difficulty involved in those is making sure you get a few hits in on fire elemental before it burns down. I think that's pretty crazy. Lauren Shu, is this game even going to have new content later on? Wasn't EOD the last expansion? No, they have absolutely confirmed that there is a new expansion under development at ArenaNet. They said before End of Dragons that wasn't going to be the end of the franchise or of the game, etc. And they announced, I think it was like within a month of End of Dragons, that they were working on another one. But as to any content before that, I think really is going to be the question at this point. Because, as much as people are assuming that there was going to be a Living World Season 6, they haven't said anything about it. They haven't said a single thing about it. And if you look at their communications since the release of End of Dragons, there's really nothing pointing to a Season 6, which I'm not happy about. I'll be honest with you guys. The Living World model was one that I really personally enjoyed. And I get that there are some pain points with it, but, as a big MMO player, I was a really big fan of the Living World model. Every couple of months, pumping out a new map, some new achievements, some new content. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And then for us to go like a good year without content before End of Dragons, other than the Return to achievements, which weren't new content. And now we're looking at another protracted, wait for more new content for open world. And wow, I mean, that's a long time. That's a long time, particularly when you consider what I think is the golden year of Guild Wars 2, which was when we got the end of season 3. We were 3 months later into the X Pack, and 2 months after that into season 4. I mean, that was just an amazing period for this game. And now we got a bunch of work that happened on the X Pack before, and I get that, because for them to ship an X Pack during the pandemic with everybody working from home was pretty impressive. I will absolutely give them that. Absolutely give them that. But I mean, this is another little bit of a content drought. I'm not a huge fan of the season 1 stuff, but yeah. Catching up on chat here. Yeah, the early world bosses are some of the first exposure to how social this game can be, supportive players can be, and a nice taste of some good game design. I still do the world bosses frequently. I'm not a world boss enjoyer, but a lot of that gets to just how ridiculously easy they've become over the last couple of years with all the power creep in the game. And again, it gets back to what I said before. It's the main challenge of Fire Elemental is getting a few hits on Fire Elemental before it gets burned down. So you know that I think that's a good point. I think that what it actually did for me was introduce me to what Guild Wars 2 does best. And while some people say that it's, you know, the social aspect or whatever, what I think Guild Wars 2 does best is that open world spectacle. And I don't think any game can touch the open world spectacle that Guild Wars 2 does. I mean, I remember the world bosses in Star Wars The Old Republic, which just kind of sat there until somebody came and, you know, started attacking it, and they didn't scale and they needed a number of people, etc. That was a really crappy experience. But then I look at the world bosses in City of Heroes. City of Heroes had some really good world bosses. City of Heroes had this giant mech that would attack the city. There was a giant octopus in one of the zones where everybody could kind of jump together and fight it. The giant octopus was kind of a cool thing, and it was my first exposure to those things. But I still remember the first time I saw Shadow Behemoth. It was just one of those moments where I realized I was playing a very different MMO. Robin, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the rest of the Circus Freaks. It is good to have you all on board this morning on Patch Day in our MMO, which is, a good thing. I actually used to take patch days off at my old job. I had this job, and they were just glad when they, if we told them a couple of days before that we weren't showing up to work. So I used to book patch days off, but it wasn't uncommon at my old job because we were in the games industry. So you'd have, on a WoW patch day, you'd lose a good 15% of the workforce as they all dropped out. Gail says, GW2 game design is top notch. I came from Lotro, and ArenaNet wins out even when they have Tolkien in their pocket for ideas. Tell you what my problem with Lotro was, Gail. And, there were some really kind of nice things about Lotro because I thought Lotro did the world building really well. I thought Lotro really captured the Shire really well, which is about as far as honestly I got with it, because I got to the point where you go ahead and get a mount, and it was so aggressively pushing me to the cash shop to the point where it was like immersion breaking. And I don't mind when a game throws me to a cash shop. I'm the kind of guy that I'll dump down $15 a month for a sub and not think twice about it, because I don't think $15 is a lot for a month of entertainment. But the way that Lotro did it, it was like, hey, you want a horse? Go to the cash shop. And it was like cash shop right there in the dialogue boxes. And I found that really obnoxious, I guess is the best word for it, to the point where it turned me off the game. So I really didn't go very far with Lotro. And it wasn't for the fact that I think it's a bad game. I actually think that there was some really nice things about it. And again, I'll touch back on the world building, which I thought was pretty good. But other than that, I just couldn't play the game. Chaotic Barbarian says Ubisoft days are patch hell. I tell you what, Chaotic Barbarian, I own exactly one Ubisoft game. I'm not a big fan of their software for the most part. Though I used to have a lot of friends who worked at Ubi and really, really enjoyed working at Ubi in Montreal. But the only game I own is Assassin's Creed Origins, which I liked and didn't liked. I don't know. There were some things about AC Origins I didn't like. Lotro is now entirely free to play until level 90 plus, and the cash shop is more liberal. Let's just say with no more wallet restrictions and stuff. Yeah, I get that. At this point, I don't think the gameplay is there for me in Lotro. It's very hard for me to go back to the kind of old tab targeting combat in MMOs. And if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to go play an older game, City of Heroes is free beer at this point. Gail says it was a very good capture of the book, and I love the classes in Lotro. I'd adore for GW2 to have a minstrel class. I think we were all kind of expecting that we would get a bit of a minstrel, whatchamacallit, a minstrel mesmer. I think that was when we heard that, the virtuoso, we thought that was all going to be music based or song based or something like that, and it absolutely wasn't. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a virtuoso enjoyer. I don't know, what would a minstrel look like in Guild Wars 2? You'd have to use the minstrel's armor, obviously. Oh, you know what this is reminding me of? I don't know how many of you guys out there are fans of World of Enders, Bootspur, who does a series of videos called Boots Bad Builds. One of them he did with a thief back in the day, and he put the thief in minstrel's gear because it was a perma-stealth Deadeye. And what he would do with this was he would go around and play like the Christmas bells and stuff like that while he was in stealth to troll people in World versus World. It was absolutely hilarious. Those of you guys who've never heard, go look up World of Enders. The guy is the reason I make Guild Wars 2 content. Boots was absolutely my favorite. Catching up on chat, it was a very good capture. Yep. Also liked the Lotro Captain class. I don't think I actually got into it enough where I could tell you any of the classes at anyone. As someone who has a lot of friends at UB, it's either you love it or you hate it. Indeed, I think that's probably a really good. Read on this situation there, Chaotic Barbarian. Hideo Takarai. Yo, what I miss? Derping. We have been standing here, waiting for the patch, having a chin wag, doing our little talk this morning. Talking a little bit about Tempest, talking a little bit about the patch, talking a little bit about other MMOs. Robin says, I like Boots. Didn't he used to do some stuff with Wooden Potatoes? Actually, he still does do a bunch of stuff. I think the real issue there is that WP is really kind of checked out for the last little bit. It was kind of, I won't get into it. I mean, WP just hasn't been making a lot of content lately. And Boots still streams every once in a while on, on Twitch. But I know his last Boots Bad Build actually had Wooden Potatoes on it, so it was good. It was good. A patch coming out today. Anything spicy? Yeah, there are a few spicy things. We've got some changes to world bosses. So there's going to be some modernization of a few of the world bosses. We're going to go take a look at that today. There's a story patch coming out today. So we are looking at the continuation of the Living World Season 1 story that we have been getting dripped to us over the last few months. There's some changes to raid rewards. So the raid CMs, this is a very fantastic change for the game from somebody who actually doesn't raid very much. I have 20 LI. I don't think I've ever done a CM, to be honest with you guys. The raid rewards are going to make the CMs on raids a lot more lucrative for people, which is nothing but good. There's no reason why, Drizzlewood should be so much more lucrative than a full CM clear as far as I'm concerned. And I don't even do the content, but I just think it's good for the game. I think that this new focus on the endgame content lately has been really, really good. Robin says, yeah, I was worried about him. He just dropped off into the void. I just don't think he was enjoying the game very much, Robin. I'm a big WP enjoyer. And I think there was a sense leading up into End of Dragons that he was just kind of at the end, at wit's end with the game. And I don't mean to speak for him, and that's, nothing but me having watched a lot of his streams. Which is, sad because, it's WP. He was kind of the face of things for a very long time for this franchise. So, yeah, but he was doing giant live streams during End of Dragons. He played through the entire game on stream here on YouTube. But then he kind of dropped off again. And I think he's kind of had it with Guild Wars, to be honest with you. Boots has a good podcast going every month as well. Yeah, he sure does. He's also on Lightbringers a lot, Zachary. If you follow Lightbringers is a pretty good podcast. It's generally him, Kroof, Creighton Herald, who I quite enjoy listening to her thoughts on the game. And it's all hooked up by Jebro. Very, very good thing. Very, very good thing. Mr. Mongoose, does Lightbringers refer to the Boon Lightbringer? Sorry. Mr. Mongoose said he was on the yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'm catching up here. Yeah. Does Lightbringers refer to the Boom Lightbringer book Lightbringer? No. It's just the name of their podcast. I think Lightbringers is actually a term from one of the orders as you are leveling up. Looks like we have a little bit of drama over here. Sup, guys? Okay, well, you kill that. I'm going to go up here. One of the problems with idling your tunes here in Fields of Ruin is there are 2 guild bounties that kind of cross this area. Yanoka can be a real problem. Trillia, a couple times a day, people will trigger her right in front of here. Lightbringers, and what is it? Is it the Priory that calls people Lightbringers? I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but there's one of the orders that refers to you as Lightbringer during the personal story, I believe, as you were going up. I got a lot of value from Wooden Potatoes content. There's nobody whose content I've got bigger value from, Gail. WP, I used to just... At work, I would just leave his content on in the background all day. It was just amazing, and it's just such good content. I mean, it's not just his knowledge and his passion for the franchise. It's his abilities as a content creator, for all of those years. Absolutely. So let's take a look here. WP said on his subreddit that he was planning to stream the new story patch. Okay, well, there you go. And he's been streaming every patch as it comes out. So there you go. That's fantastic. Lightbringers are Order of Whispers. There you go. Gale with the on-point correction there. And James also coming in. Yeah, absolutely. Seeker? Is it Light Seeker? Okay. Pure Evil says WP is just so eloquent. It's fun to hear him rambling. It's not when he's being eloquent that I appreciate WP the most. I appreciate WP the most when he is a little bit grouchy. When he turns off his filter a little bit, I find him to be so insightful, and I agree with him on so many things when he turns off his filter a little bit. I'm still a very big fan, so it's good news if he'll be back today. That'll be a really big win for us because I enjoy his content very, very much. He's top 5 in my books, absolutely. Tybalt was a Lightbringer rank. There we go. Of course, we could always just what happens when we wiki Lightbringer. Let's see what we got. Lightbringer is a rank within the Order of Whispers. They are squad leaders and spy masters among the organization. And there's also a list of known Lightbringers, which is very cool. One of them being, as mentioned, Tybalt Leftpaw. There you have it. All right. We're such nerds. Am I going to turn off my filter? Pure Evil. The problem when I turn off my filter is that most of my criticism is for the community in this game, and I'm just not sure it would be healthy for me as a content creator. I don't know. I'm not one of these people that believes that this game has the best community in MMOs. I'm not one of these people that looks at situations and says it's all the developer's fault and stuff like that. And that's where a lot of my filtering goes in, is under issues like that, under community issues, because I think the game overall, particularly when it comes to its design, its systems, and its implementations, is so much better than most other MMOs. And I find that a lot of problems in this community come to catering to people who don't like playing video games. Excuse me. Who see this more as a bit of an interactive story. So, I'm going to leave it at that. There will be times, but a lot of my criticism would probably get me buried, to be honest with you. And that is why I will leave my filter on. Jebro is a big Tybalt fan. That you know what? There are a lot of big Tybalt fans. I am also a Tybalt enjoyer. But my problem with the character of Tybalt probably goes back to the fact that I did the Priory first as my first playthrough, so Tybalt wasn't actually my first kind of exposure to that little archetype. My real problem is the fact is that him and Siren and Forgal all kind of meet the same end at the same point, and it's this convergence of the story that I really just don't like very much. I get the emotional attachment to Tybalt as a character. There are very few characters in this game that I actually feel attached to be honest with you. Trying to think if there are any characters I enjoy more than... Oh, you know who? My favorite character in this franchise was probably Bangar for a couple of years there. I thought Bangar was just an amazing character, and in a franchise that really lacks well-spoken villains, Bangar really stood out. And oh my god, did I love Anka from the expansion from End of Dragons. Anka was just freaking fantastic. Oh my good grief, she was a good character. There's that scene when she shoots the guy and then she's sitting there talking about how the gun is out of balance and everything, and I was like, wow. And then I was so sad that she didn't make it out of the X-Pack alive. It was pretty good there. Caddy is reminding me that Canuck is a good character. I like Canuck. I just think he's a little too much comic relief. I wish there was a little bit more kind of juice to Canuck as a character, to be honest with you. Though I really appreciate... I even like the new voice actor. I like the new voice actor and what he's doing on it. But yeah, Canuck is a good character. The Gale. The community is made up of human beings, and human beings is, shall we say, broadly defined. I think that's a really good point. But, you know, Gale, I look back at the drama over Dragon's End. I look at the recent drama over the balance patch, and... this community is just so willing to self-martyr itself and then throw the developers under the bus that it just blows my mind. Well, new build is available. I am going to, as I am talking here, go ahead and put on my little waiting screen, and then I am going to exit to the desktop and restart my game. And we will get into our new patch in a moment. Yeah, Priory Gang, no matter what you say about the community, at least they're united behind the hatred towards Guardians. I actually quite enjoy Guardian. It's just, you're going to get that hate when you've been sitting on top of a mountain for many months. Jormag was a very good character. I agree, Pure Evil. The Jormag characterization in Icebrood Saga was easily my favorite Elder Dragon characterization, and let's be honest on that. Like, you know, it's hard to script a tidal wave or a force of nature. I think is one way to look at it, and I get that. But Jormag was very, very well done, and really kind of sad the way that hit its end there. Am I the only one that didn't quite get Anka's motivation in End of Dragons? What was Anka's motive? Anka was working for June, right? Okay, I actually, if you'll give me a moment, I have to quit my game as well, and then I gotta uninstall Arc because Arc is causing a fit when I load here. Give me a couple of quick seconds here just to make this happen. This can take a few seconds, so I do appreciate your patience on this. Let's just find where my folder is, and we will make it happen. Guild Wars 2 D3 D11.dll, is that the one? Well, only one way to find out. And I'll catch up with chat here in a couple of seconds. Appreciate you guys' patience. Looks like it's loading. Let's hit play. Okay, catching up with the chat. Lord Farron, absolutely. Lord Farron is absolutely fantastic comic relief. Gonna have to agree with you on that. And we are back in game, my friends. All right, back to the chat. What do you think is the best solo open world build after the last patch? Azel, the usual suspects are still strong. I think that obviously Condi Rev is still decent. I think that, what else do I think? I think that, just trying to think. I still love Sully Hollowsmith, obviously. I still think Sully Hollowsmith is a banger. But really what I've been enjoying over the last 3 days is this last little iteration of Condi Tempest. With the permanent alacrity, I'm really enjoying this. Definitely good for big game hunting. Will be a video out on this pretty soon. There's a lot of good EOD specs that I think are very good in open world, but, you know, quote unquote, the best. Probably me. I'm going to go with Sully Hollowsmith, but I don't do a lot of big game hunting anymore. So when I say big game hunting, I'm not going out to solo a lot of desert bounties or anything like that. I'm not going out of my way to do that. I'm doing most of my bounties with Cattywampus over here. So, you know, I'm not needing that crazy beefy sustain that a lot of builds kind of bring with them. So there is that, but what am I enjoying these days? What are my big go-tos? I just hit my character select screen right now and just give a really good kind of once-over. So yeah, Condi Tempest in Celestial Gear. Sully Hollowsmith is really, really fun. Scourge is still a beast. Firebrand is still a beast. And, you know, probably if you're looking for something strong, Mechanist is probably the strongest thing going these days. Yeah, Mechanist is probably the quote-unquote strongest, the quote-unquote best. Anka lost pieces of herself in the mist. Did she? I have to go back and replay that. I did the one story playthrough when it just launched. The dialogue you hear, more videos of World versus World. Daniel, let me just give you a couple of seconds and just paint you a little picture. There is going to be some World versus World content. It is going to be very soon. The current plan for content on the channel is this. There will be the regular streams on Saturday. There is a Sully or Condi Tempest build coming out. After that, I'm going to put out another Condi Virtuoso build. And after that, I'm going to get started on the World versus World content. Now, the World versus World content is going to look a lot like my Let's Replay Guild Wars 2 series. that they're going to be, 15 to 20 minute videos. It's just going to be what I do and how I approach the game mode, explain things, go over, make some memes, some jokes, etc. But there is some more. When it comes to build videos for World versus World, I may actually do a build video for Cleanse Tempest, which I think is super easy to play and a lot of fun. Cleanse Tempest in World versus World is pretty effective. So there it is. The dialogue you can hear from the Aetherblade cubes was chilling. Yes, yes, yes. Anka being prepared to kill her own crew over and over again in the fractals to escape was so good. Made me wonder what they were fighting. James, that was like one of my favorite story beats of the entire expansion, was just opening those little cubes and realizing they were going back into the mists and everything and that whole thing. Oddly enough, what that reminded me of, and this is going to sound strange, but it reminded me of Red Dwarf. It reminded me of a story beat in Red Dwarf. And I don't know if any of you all have ever watched Red Dwarf, but there was a story beat there where their future selves came back to kill them, to stop them from doing something that would keep them from living a life of luxury in the future. And I don't know why, but there was this really weird kind of, sense of desperation about it, which was odd for Red Dwarf, which was obviously a bit of a cheesy kind of 90s 2000s comedy for those pulling this up. Hate Guardians because they don't they don't want to say they envy Guardians. Yes. Forex, the gold arbitrage question. Who is we? We. I'm not sure what the context is, but we is generally me and my partner in crime, Caddy here, who kills stuff. Pure evil. Honestly, most of the new characters for End of Dragons are interesting. There's definitely character-driven story for me. It was much better in terms of character than I think just about any other expansion. I will absolutely give you that. The characters were really well done in End of Dragons. And in fact, I hack on the story in this game a lot, but when it comes to the presentation of the story, I was absolutely blown away by End of Dragons in terms of how it weaved the story into the mechanics of the open world. And I'm going to put something out here to you guys at this point. If you were at all interested in game design and how it relates to story, Matthew Medina is a developer at ArenaNet, and Matthew Medina actually puts out little developer videos where he walks through content that he actually developed and kind of shows you the ideas behind certain things that are going on. And I think he's done 4 episodes of his work from End of Dragons. He gets like 0 views on these videos. Like he gets less than 100 views on these videos, but it is absolutely fascinating stuff. Sea-Dog, hi, really enjoy your build videos. Keep up the great work. Sea-Dog, thank you very much. I really appreciate the positive words. That is absolutely why I do it. Gail says, I have been watching Matthew's videos. Very interesting stuff behind the curtain. I can't agree more. I can't agree more with that. Let me pull up the patch notes and let's just see if there are any real surprises in our patch notes here. Bear with me for a couple of moments while I do this for you guys. Just couple of seconds while I locate said patch notes, because I was obviously quite well prepared for this, being the pro that I am. And let us look at development tracker, and let us look at the game update notes, and let me see if I can't put these on screen for y'all and provide an interactive viewing experience like none other in Guild Wars 2. Bear with me here for another moment. Clockwork Chaos. So there we go. Let me see if I can just put this up on y'all's screen, because that is how I roll. Bam. No, that didn't work at all, did it? Huh, how very interesting. All right. Let's try and do this, shall we? Bear with me one more moment as I try to put a browser source up on the screen. Okay, and we will add a source. We will call it the browser source, and we will... look at that. Isn't that amazing? Can I just put this in here? And hit... Oh! All right. Close. There we have it. Patch notes, almost like we know what we're talking about here on the stream. Let me catch up a chat here for a few seconds, and we will continue our... bear with me here. Been watching... Yeah, smash that... Thank you, Robin. So, looking into this in the wake of the cinematics, so what are we talking about? The story instances. After years of being unavailable, the Clockwork Chaos episode of the Living World storyline has been restored and restructured with a story journal episode. This episode is permanently available for free. Good stuff. So there's our story stuff. Core Tyria world boss improvements. Now, is this actually tracking on here? Can I actually... I can't even scroll this. Are you kidding me? All right. Bear with me here for one more moment because this just will not do. Let me remove this. And let me re-add this. And let's go with a window capture. And let us hit Chrome. We will add our source. And let's see. Chrome.exe. Haha! Done. Maybe bring that in a little bit. Get rid of the old one. All right. Almost as if we know what we are doing here on the show. So, changes to Great Jungle Worm. Updated the model for the Great Jungle Worm to improve, so it'll look better. Okay, increase the boss's health. That is a bonus. Yeah, so some interesting stuff here. So, Shadow Behemoth, same kind of idea. Fire Elemental, same kind of idea. And then the Svanir Shaman Chief. Okay. Excellent. Changes to Fractal Mistlock instability. This will be interesting. I'm not going to go over exactly what this all is on stream here, but I guess the idea was to really avoid some of the cancerous interactions that were happening on fractals with the instabilities, which is good. Very good. So some changes to these. I will let you go over these in your spare time. Wow, these are extensive. This is a lot of work on fractals. Crazy. Just insane. Okay, raids. With this update, we are making some change to raid rewards in an effort to simplify and standardize these systems by improving inventory management. What? By improving inventory management? Okay. So we get more gold for doing the challenge modes. I think this is absolutely bonus benefit. Oh, I see. So they're getting rid of old currencies. Okay, well, good stuff. World polish. Updated iconic characters in some Living World Season 1 story missions to become temporarily stunned rather than needing revival if they are defeated. Okay. Updated the models used by the Watch Knights and Twisted Nightmares to be consistent with the changes to the Twisted Marionette. That's cool. Personal story home instance. What the crap is a personal story home instance? That's interesting. Fixed a bug that caused a Quaggan Oh, hey, they fixed this. Okay, so Caddy, you with the cannon in Red Keep, this was mine. And it was any character that you were home instance farming in the home instance in Divinity's Reach. If you had done the Quaggan part of this personal story, they would have a little Quaggan hatchling that was standing on the Orient Oyster gathering node that would... Oh, he was a pain in the ass. This was my cannon at Red Keep, and they fixed it. Very cool. All right. General, newly made crafting research consumables will now automatic. What? Newly made crafting research consumables will now be automatically consumed instead of going into a player's inventory. Crafting research consumables made prior to this update are unaffected by this change. I'm just not even sure what that means. Oh, removed the Imperial Everbloom purchase limit from Zal, the Strike Mission reward vendor. Cool. Improved the visuals for higher contrast mouse cursors. Cool. I've been enjoying those higher contrast mouse cursors. Just going to catch up on chat here for a couple of quick seconds. Bear with me for a moment. Well, I can figure out my windows eventually, I think. Okay. Increased boss's health. I wonder if that's going to upset people if a boss doesn't die before they can run to the next boss on the quarter hour. There may be something to do with that, Gale. That might be a good point. It depends. It really depends. It really depends. I think the big boss health can be offset by the power creep. I mean, there was a lot of standing around on those world boss trains as far as I was concerned. I hope it means it will be easier to consume research notes after you salvage a crafted item. That could be as well. I'm not even really sure what it means. Let us move on with our exploration of the patch notes. Dungeons. Fixed a bug that prevented explorable dungeon. Oh, okay. So they fixed this bug that was keeping some characters from being able to purchase stuff. That is because they had completed the dungeons, but they weren't actually able to buy things with the currencies after the last change because it was mistakenly reading them as character bound at that point. So there we go. I was not impacted by this. What is this? Items. New mist-charged jade trinkets are now available in the Skirmish Supervisor's Ascended Trinkets tab in... Oh, well... Okay, hey, you want my filter off? Here's where my filter goes off, right here. So what they've done here is given us the ability to buy some new trinkets in World vs. World. Let's go and take a look at these. And it looks like what these are is the ability to get End of Dragon's stats in the... we won't go to this one. We'll go to this one. End of Dragon's stats on the trinkets that you buy in World vs. World. But of course, they have not made this change in PvE, which means that getting these things is still 100% cancerous to your gameplay. Ritualists and dragon stats are needlessly gated behind gameplay and are really just... I just don't know what's going through their heads on this. And I'm going to say this one thing. If there is no difference between the stat values, as if we are not buying better stats, then they shouldn't be harder to get. If we are buying the same stats and they are harder to get, that is what you call artificial friction. That is the game developer putting a level of friction between you and your rewards that is not there for anything else. If indeed these stats are better, then that is the exact case, that is the exact kind of power creep that this game was supposed to obviously be set up to not put in a player's grasp. So that makes it a gear grind. It absolutely makes it a gear grind. For us not to be able to choose these stats out of any stat selectable trinket, which is something they promised us. They absolutely promised us this like a couple of years ago. And now they're gating these things. I mean, I just can't believe it. Let's check the price on these. I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about this at all. I think this whole idea of going and having to buy or having to go through all these other hoops to get these things. And let's see. So what do we need? Testimonies of Jade Heroics, and a stack of memories of battle. It's just awful. Well, there they are. Unhappy. When I do my review of End of Dragons, that is a big point of contention. And again, this is just something that we shouldn't be having to deal with on a regular basis. All right, rant over. Let's go back to our patch notes. Whatever. It's not like anything I'm going to say is changing this. Items. So, profession skills. Oh, well, we got some class mechanic changes here. Mechanist. Mech frame variable mass distributor fixed a bug. So, no nerf to mechanism, just a bug. Okay, Guardian. Willbender has been a powerful force in PvP since the enhancement to Righteous Instincts. We're mostly happy with the impact that the change had on Power Guardian builds as a whole, but it pushed the Willbender damage a bit over the top. Okay, so we are nerfing Willbender in PvP. That is not surprising in the very least. If you've played Willbender in PvP, it's a bit of a noob cannon. So, changes to Rushing Justice in PvP, Executioner's Calling in PvP, and Advanced Strike. Necromancer. What do you want to bet? These are more PvP changes. Nerfs for Harbinger. Elixir of Ambition is still an extremely powerful skill in PvP, even after the reduction of its might application in the June 28th update. For this update, we're reducing the duration of the boons that it applies, but we'll be keeping an eye on how it performs. So again, some more PvP adjustments. Good for them. Good for them. Harbinger and Willbender were a little oppressive. I wonder, though, if they're going to do anything about Harbinger and World versus World, because Harbinger and World versus World is absolutely redonkulous. Absolutely redonkulous. Revenant, Vindicator's defensive tools. Oh, good. And they're addressing Bunker Rev in PvP. And I don't play a lot of PvP, but holy smokes, that was just awful. That was just awful. They were at the point during the last PvP tournament that I was watching where they said that people couldn't play this build. They were just straight up saying, you can't play it. The healing skills in Legendary Alliance stance are notable outliers in healing potential. Okay, so are they changing this in PvP only? Is all of this PvP? Okay, so all of these are PvP updates. Warrior. In the June 28th update, we updated the Furious Burst trace to the arms line to include +5 critical chance when under the effects of Fury. However, the moderate and power warrior builds don't typically incorporate the arms trait line, meaning that the warriors were not fairly compensated for the Fury change. In this update, we've added 5% increased critical chance to Pinnacle of Strength in the Strength line. Furious Burst will retain the increased critical chance as well. Okay, well, there you have it. I'm not sure really what that means, to be honest. If that's really what Warrior needs, I'm pretty sure it needs a whole lot more. Mohammed Ashraf, thank you very much for your subscription. I really do appreciate it. Taking a look at chat, Pure Evil. Oh god, I just turn and run away when I see a Harb in World versus World. Yeah, Harbinger in World versus World is just problematic at this point. Problematic. And I think those, my friends, are the patch notes. So let me kill this on our screen. And one of the things I like to do after a patch like this, let's take a look and see if we've seen any changes to the Black Lion Statuette vendor, because who knows what's in here. Love to hit these after a patch. Same crap. And, oh, okay. So we got a few of the weapon skins. Nothing here I'm really excited about. If you're interested in those Exalted Shoulders, those are in there now. Finishers, mini mounts, mail carriers. Oh, good. Because there's a system with a lot of value. By the way, for those of you guys who don't know, you may just be tuning into the channel, or you may not, you may be new to the game. If you actually go to the trading post right now and you search mail, I think all you need to put is in mail here. There are 2 mail carriers you can get for just about free here. There's a Raven and a Parrot. I like the Parrot. If you're at all interested in this stuff, these are available for a nominal cost right there. And I highly recommend you grab them because you know what? It's cheap. Super cheap. All right, let's put these away. Let's catch up. I would rather not see them appear to leave arms as an unattractive trait line. Yeah, I mean, there's no big deal. I mean, My warrior knowledge, not maybe as high as some of my other classes. I really like Bladesworn. I like Condi Berserker, but that's about all I'm super having fun with. I love Spellbreaker from a lore perspective. I love it from a design standpoint. It's just the execution is just really lackluster in PvE. I can't really see any reason to play Spellbreaker these days, unfortunately, and I really love Spellbreaker as an idea. It's just one of my favorite things. So there we have it. My next goal here at this point, if you will bear with, is I'm actually just going to pop the event timers, and I'm going to see if any of the world bosses are on. We may just go take a look at those world bosses. So we just missed Svanner Shaman. So Fire Elemental is in about 20 minutes. I think that'll be our next goal here. I think that's probably a good idea. So we'll do that in about 20 minutes. In a couple of minutes, I'm just going to grab 5 and grab a smoke. I just don't like that some professions have all 5 core trait lines as viable, while some have fewer viable trait lines. I think, Gail, I mean, that's a complicated issue, because it's less the case if you start playing competitive. You start seeing more value in the other trait lines if you start doing some world versus world, etc. Which is not to say that it's still where it should be. And I would like more buildcraft in this game, more open buildcraft in this game. I'm like the first one who'd like more buildcraft in this game. But I'm not at a point where I think that things are necessarily restrictive at this point. And I understand that certain things are as they are for a balanced standpoint. And I get that there are some trait lines that just won't see play. But then, you know, that's only on some classes. I agree, because I see that, you know, Warrior does really kind of, you know, Warrior suffers from this in a way that, say, Elementalist is not. I'm a big LE enjoyer, obviously, but when I take a look at my core trait lines in Elementalist, and let's just pull them up here, I have functionally made use of all the core trait lines over the last 6 months in Elementalist, and that's not the case for Warrior. That said, I would be more likely to play Warrior in competitive than I would to, say, play Tempest. I'm not sure. I mean, it's not something I've admittedly given a ton of thought to. Catching up here, GG, hello, new here but enjoying your builds after being given away from Guild Wars 2 for almost 5 years. GG, welcome to the stream. I am glad to have you here. We are all glad to have you here. Thank you for joining. Glad you were enjoying the content. There is plenty more to come. There are more builds to make. Pure Evil didn't translate well in gameplay. Well, the problem, Pure Evil, is the same problem that Scrapper had when Scrapper launched. Scrapper was largely a PvP spec, right? And it was really good in PvP and World versus World. But for many, many, many moons, you didn't really want to play Scrapper too much in PvE content. I think it was probably the quickness changes that really put it over the top. You know, really did that. But they gave it a little shine, you know, a little bit of DPS here and there, a little bit of boons, and it was in a great place. I'm waiting to touch Warrior until after they fix the mess that they made on June 28th. Because they made a mess of the class. There's just no question. That said, I understand that currently Bladesworn is top DPS in instance content. So I don't want to talk too much out of my ass there. But in open world, Spellbreaker is just awful at this point. Spellbreaker, Daredevil, 2 specs that really need a lot of shine for open world. Hugo, welcome to the stream. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So what I'm actually going to do here at this point, I'm going to jump out for a quick 5 minutes, smoke them if you got them, folks. And then I will come back and we will go and take a look at doing a couple of world bosses and see what the changes are like. So do bear with me. I will be back in 5 minutes. So without going off on too much of a tangent, this is the most beautiful time of the year where I live. Currently, I'm on the west coast of Canada, on Vancouver Island. And if you've ever been to this area of the world, you'll know it's absolutely one of the most beautiful places in the world to live. But going out just on my deck right now, oh, wow. It's just gorgeous out there. Absolutely gorgeous out there. Very warm, and I'm right on the edge of the ocean. And yeah, when I used to live in Montreal, you know, this is when I started hating living the city in that city at this time of year. Anyways, yes. So if you don't live on the west coast of Vancouver Island in Canada, I highly recommend you do so. We are accepting new residents at this point. So there we have it. Let's take a look at the time. So we got 8 minutes. I guess we should get ready to go to a world boss. Bear with me while I pull this up and we figure out exactly where we have to be. Excuse me. Fire Elemental. All right. Let's see what we get here, folks. World boss changes. Now, did they also change the rewards to these? I think they're giving an extra chant bag or something like that. Which is interesting. Interesting indeed. Anybody who would like to join at this point, send me a telling game. Mind Circus 1506 1506. We got 2 spots left here. If you'd like to come and whale on some world bosses with us, you are absolutely welcome to do so. We will definitely see what is going on with this. Jump up here with the peepos. Again, world boss is maybe not my favorite content in the game, but we'll see if this makes a change. We'll see if it makes a change. Only ever visited Canada, Winnipeg once, and it was fantastic. Winnipeg's an interesting city. Winnipeg, though, you really just don't want to live there about 8 months out of the year. It's bitterly cold. Bitterly cold. For those of you who live in the Midwest of the United States, you probably have a good idea of what it's like. It's hell on earth. It really is just absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. It was, yeah, it was in February. Yeah, just cannot abide by that kind of thing. Just absolutely awful. My favorite change in the game is combining all the dungeon tokens into one kind. I am a very big fan of that change as well from a veteran standpoint. I think it's a really good change because I can't tell you how many times I would just end up going out there and, you know, when I was doing a legendary and having to grind some obscure dungeon that I didn't care for, etc. This idea that I've got one currency, and I think I'm sitting on a whole bunch of them in here. Let me just pull up my oops. Let me just pull this up and see what I have here. What are these now called? Are they down near the bottom? Yeah, so now I have 3,000 of these things. So I think that's a fantastic change. Anytime I need to go and buy some monk runes or something. Well, I don't need to buy runes anymore because I have the legendary runes. You know, that would have been really nice about a year ago before I had those legendary runes. Wow. Not having to buy monk runes or nightmare runes or I guess aristocracy runes. Any of those, and you know, monk runes and nightmare runes are some of the best runes in the game. So not having to go out and buy those would have been really, or not have to grind certain dungeon paths for those would probably have been a really nice quality of life change for me. Hell Corporation, good evening from Germany. Good evening, Hell Corporation. It is good to see you. It is absolutely good to see you. Gail, made it easy to get the new mechs to get their Golemancers runes. So, Gail, have you actually run the Golemancers runes out of curiosity? I have not run them. I was sticking with the pack runes for the boon duration for my build. I was much higher into the boon duration, but from what I understand, they are pretty fun. They are pretty fun. Catching up here. Midnight in guild chat says, I robbed my druid and took her entire ascended set with monk runes for the heal mech build. That is interesting. I still haven't played heal mech. I have played celestial mech, but I have not run a full healing spec on that, to be honest with you at this point. The only thing I've run in full healers since the 28th patch is Tempest. Tempest was nice, really nice. Keeping the alacrity up on the Minstrel's gear was really kind of cool. Was really quite kind of cool. Gail says, I have not. I have a friend who loves them as much for their utility as their novelty of a second golem. I mentioned this on Saturday when my friend Boulder dropped by, but we used to spend a lot of time in World versus World, and there was a person who used to tag up there with those Colomancer runes all the time. We used to laugh at that so hard. Oh my. And now they're like best in slot for power DPS. Just blows my mind. GG, they need to rework the runes. Way too many runes. I don't know if I agree with that. I think GG that a lot of the build craft comes from those runes, and having those options is really nice. I know specifically when I got to this point with this celestial build that I've been effing abouts with for a little while, trying to perma alacrity on Condi Tempest, that having those rune choices was really nice. I would really like a couple of more rune choices. I'd like a rune that actually extended the value or the boon duration on alacrity, very much like, say, a Firebrand rune does for quickness. I would love to see like a Condi alacrity rune. That would be amazing. I think that the runes are one of those bits of self-expression that is great. I think the real problem with the runes in this game comes with the fact that some of them just aren't viable, and that some of them are just so dramatically better than other runes. And I think a good example of this are monk runes. When you are playing any kind of healing spec, the number of viable alternatives to monk runes is so low because the monk runes are just so overpowered. And I think if we could even nerf those monk runes a little bit, that would obviously make 3 or 4 more runes way more viable in this game. And it really comes to the point where, you know, to make something viable, you don't necessarily have to make it stronger. Making the things that, you know, make it unviable weaker is obviously also a choice. And I think in the case of some of the runes, that's absolutely what we would want to look at. You know, for power DPS, there's only 2 or 3 really good power DPS options for that. You know, you could go and play memes with things like Citadel runes or stuff like that, but then it really gets back to, you know, do you want to be playing for the memes or do you want to be playing for performance? And when I'll usually choose, you know, the memes, for me personally, because I enjoy it, you know, for the average player, they're only going to see the one choice. And I think that that's kind of what needs to be looked at with the runes. And I know they took a look at this. I want to say this was about 2-3 years ago that they took a look at the rune changes and made a few changes to them. But I really think that really what needs to happen is a little bit of parity among some of the other runes. Like, there are some runes that won't be touched, and that's the problem. And if they weren't a bad choice, then the game would be more healthy as far as, you know, as far as what my point of view on that anyways. Gail says, I'm a big fan of the ogre runes. The ogre runes, and apologies for the tone of the joke, but Nudie had a video a while back, which was one of the best Guild Wars 2 pickup lines. Hey, are you running ogre runes because you just summoned my rock dog or something like that? Yeah. Anyways, onwards with our day. So yeah, runes, you know, when I look at these and I pull these up here, just going to pull this up and look at the equipment. We will customize. You know, yeah, is this too many choices or is it just too few good choices out of all this? And I am of the opinion that it's too few good choices. That if we could make a lot of these choices better, that we would be a lot better off, to be honest with you. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, like, Wouldn't it be great if Soul Beast runes were a really good choice on your Soul Beast? Wouldn't it be great if these Spellbreaker runes are an undervalued set of runes? These, if you are in open world on a power build, particularly going through core, these Spellbreaker runes are really, really good, dealing 7% damage to foes that have no boons. When you think in open world, particularly before you get into Icebrewed Saga, about just how few of the enemies in open world have boons, this becomes a really nice rune for you. So if I'm world completing on a power build, these Spellbreaker runes are okay. But, then you get these runes of the stars or runes of, what is this, the sunless? These sunless runes, I'm not sure, really great. I might look at these in World versus World or something like that. Thief runes are okay, I guess. So, there's just a lot of these that I just find so situational. Like these Trooper runes, I have run the hell out of these Trooper runes in World versus World on Warrior and on Tempest. Because remove a condition from each affected ally after using a shout skill. So anything that uses shouts can become a cleanse bot at that point. So I quite like those. I know these undead runes are one of Lord Hyzen was using these on a couple of builds. These are really nice to get yourself some tankiness and still keep some damage. These are really nice. But Rune of the Warrior, Vitality, Power, a whole bunch of vitality, decrease recharge time by 20% after swapping weapons. That's not bad, but again, is this not situational? My favorite runes are pack runes. I will use pack runes on just about any kind of boon generating build that is power damage based. When it comes to Condi, I will probably go with Elementalist runes or Renegade runes. I'm a very big believer in Renegade runes. Renegade runes are a small dip in damage compared to Elementalist runes at about half the price, so I really like those. But generally, I'm going to look for boon duration for my runes for a lot of builds. And on power-related builds, I'm going to go with those pack runes like 9 times out of 10. I'm a big believer in the pack rune. Some people will go with the Fireworks runes, but the Fireworks runes are a little bit more of a selfish variant than anything else. So that is where I will go on these. So are we still just kind of sitting around waiting for pre-events? I guess we are. All right. Feels waiting, man. So there is that. Let's take a look here. What do we have? Clockwork Chaos is now available for play. Did I see the Jadebot skin? Caddy is losing her mind about a Jadebot skin. Let us take a look at what the Jadebots... Wow, look at that. It's a cat. Okay, can you dye it? That is the real question, because if I can dye this black and white like Striker, then I want it. Otherwise, I don't. All right, well, whatever. If it makes the game money, I'm good with it. What are your thoughts on pack versus firework runes? Well, my thoughts on pack versus fireworks runes is I will always, for open world, choose the option that will spread the boons out, and that will be the pack runes. The fireworks runes are a more selfish variant. Let's just pull these up really quickly and get everybody an idea of what we're talking about. So if we go in here and we take a look at fireworks runes, so fireworks runes are power, boon duration, and then on the 6 you get 25 movement speed, gain 6 stacks of might, fury, vigor. Okay, but when we look at the pack runes, not only are we getting some of these spams of boons, these are going out to other people, so we're granting nearby allies the might, fury, and swiftness for 6 seconds, and we're getting a 125 precision. So using these, we have a much easier time of getting ourselves to the crit cap. than we would on the fireworks runes. And I like the fact that it's spreading things out. So what are you losing? Plus 25% movement speed. That movement speed is of bigger value in competitive, so I might consider the fireworks runes if I was in World versus World or something. But in open world play, it's my theory and thinking that we are generally never as alone as we think. So putting something that creates value to other people is where I generally run on that. That is kind of my theory on that. Gail says, meh, not meow. I'm okay on it. You know, if it makes the game money, then I'm good. If it shows up in a black lion chest on my weekly key run, I'll be happy. But I'm not going to run out and buy that. The number of mount skins I buy in this game is pretty small. Every once in a while, I'll buy one of those select packs and just, you know, kind of treat myself to that. So I like that. Caddy says she's going to get the J-Bot skin from a key. I don't know if they're in the keys, so keep that in mind. We might want to make sure that they are actually in the keys before we start going out and buying keys. I think they need to put in more runes and more different stat choices. HK105, I am with you on that. I would like to see a bunch of new runes for each of the new elite specs, like the runes of the Catalyst, the runes of the Virtuoso, etc. I would love to see something like that. And again, you know, I'm going to default back to what I was saying about something that increases alacrity and Condi damage. I think that would be a really nice, you know, bump to the game. But again, I understand that there are a lot of people out there that feel that the system just kind of, that they're drowning in choices. And that really is one of the downfalls of the current system of the game. And it's not going to change anytime soon. They're not going to do a rune reorganization or anything like that. They're not going to give us less options, which for the newer player would be preferable. It would be preferable if there were only like 9 or 10 different sets of runes for them, right? It would make things a lot easier for them. But again, for us at the veteran level, having more options is always preferable, I think. But again, for a newer player, I understand the concern. I really do. Particularly when they go to, you know, build videos like mine and I'm telling them to run something super expensive or something that's hard to get, like Nightmare runes, etc. I would think that would be, you know, definitely a concern. Gale, an alacrity Condi damage rune would make a rush to buy them. Yes, there would be that. But, you know, Gale, all you really need to do is make those available for World versus World currency, just like the other options. And when I say that, I mean you go to World versus World, and for $1.50 and some World versus World currency, you can buy Renegade runes. You can buy any of the Path of Fire runes. You can buy any of the Heart of Thorns runes like that. And it makes them so totally cheap. And because they're account bound, you can actually go ahead and sell those. So it keeps the price low. It keeps there from being a rush on them. At the same time, allows the World versus World players who maybe live in a world where they don't have the same amount of raw gold coming in that, say, the PvE players and particularly the open world or the fractal players, etc., really do have. ZZ Olivia, make the rune account bound. Yeah, I mean, you can do that too. There's a lot of options to that. My difficulty so far with the game is progressing fractals through Tier 2 and Tier 3. Tier 2 and Tier 3 are kind of that funny area, particularly if you're pugging. I found it easy to pug when I was playing support. Okay, I'm going to just stop. I'll get back to your question in a moment, but we're going to get our world boss taste here. So let's take a quick look at what's going on with this and how it goes. Look at all these people. This is fantastic. Holy shnikes. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got a little burning circle in there that's actually properly telegraphed, unlike before. And it's dropping about twice as slow. Look at that. They telegraphed all the hits. And, you know, is it still a spam fest? Probably. But it's not taking forever to go down. I like that. Those are nice changes, my friends. Those are really, really nice changes. I gotta think that that's great. Jump over the shockwave. Look at this. So now it's telling us to jump over the shockwave when the shockwave happens. Alright. Kudos to ArenaNet at this point. Kudos to ArenaNet. Those are really nice changes, my friends. Didn't make it too hard to do. Still. And there it is. Okay, well that's a nice little polish pass on that world boss. 4 boxes of lab equipment. Beautiful, and a whole bunch of other stuff. That's a fair bit of champ bags there, isn't it? That's not bad. That's not bad. Let me pull up the world boss event timers. Golem Mark II. You know what? We're gonna go and do Golem Mark II just because we're world bossing at this point, and that is just how we roll. And then I will catch up with chat. So let us go to the old sledge waypoint. I don't even know if I have that on this character. I do. Look at me. Fantastic. So we'll go and we'll do Golem Mark II as I read the chat. Hey, those of you who are just joining the stream, thank you very much for joining. You have reached Mind Over Meta, my channel. I am Mind Circus. Mind Circus 1506, if any of you guys would like to join us in-game for a little bit of World Boss shenanigans, memery, good old times. And we'll see what's going on here. Just going to get in place and catch up with chat. Bear with me here for a moment. All right. Pulling this up. So, yeah, going back to what you said, Gigi, about the tier 2 to tier 3 area, that really is one of the harder parts of fractal progression, and you really do have 2 choices. Play with a bunch of people you play with every night, like make a bunch of friends and do it that way if you can, which really to me is the best way to do it. Playing fractals with your buds. I am hard pressed to think of any better social activity in this game than just hanging out with 5 people and doing fractals. I'm a huge fan. So if you're doing those things with your friends, I think you'll find that the progression is a little bit easier. But when I was pugging, and I absolutely did pug them, I found that it was much easier to progress as a support player. So I was playing Support Tempest in Fractals. The thing about the support, though, is you really have to be careful. I did get kicked a couple of times because I was not playing a meta support build when I was getting to the higher T3s. And that's fine. I'm cool with that. That's not a big deal in my world. I think really if you're going to pug, playing the meta is probably the best way to go. But when you're playing with your friends, you know, play whatever you want. Play whatever you want. Felday, probably a frequent question, but how did you outline your cursor in game like that? Is an add-on or a setting that I overlooked? I came back just a week ago. Hey, Felday, this is something they added about 2 weeks ago into the game. Let me just pull this up for you really quickly. If you go into your options now, you have the ability to have a cursor contrast right here on your options. I've got it set up for low. You've got off, which is the old one. You've got low, and then you've got high contrast. So this is like I don't have to be running, what was it, YOLO mouse anymore. This is huge because I am absolutely one of those people that would lose their cursor in large events and stuff like that. I don't think that's an uncommon problem. So there we go. Yeah. What is use show ally names keybind to find cursor? Okay, I'm going to have to look at that later. I haven't really looked at that, to be honest with you. So yeah, bit of a change. I'm a big fan. So there we have it. pulling this up here. I got frustrated, crafted full ascended from my warrior to progress fractals owned by the patch. Yeah, you get a lot of sympathy from me on that one. That was one of the more savage nerfs I've ever seen since I started playing this game. Absolutely. Do you think Catalyst is still viable post nerf? Absolutely, it's viable. And it depends a lot on what you mean by viable and what you are playing. Is it viable in top tier content? Is it viable in T4 fractals? Is it viable in raids? I think it's viable. Is it optimal? I'm not sure it's optimal anymore, but there's a big difference there. Is it viable in open world? I absolutely love Catalyst in open world. I am playing a really funky build on that. You can take a look on the channel. I've got a Celestial Catalyst build up on the channel at this point. It's a little funky to play. It is a little bit of an oddball build, I'm not going to front. It is not, set for damage. It's more of a build that you use for carrying other people through content. Because the aura spam is way more powerful than I think people give credit for it. So it's an aura spam build. I like it. It does appreciable damage. Playing it for straight DPS is still absolutely viable. Absolutely viable. Everyone is going nuts with the tags. Yes, I am not running a tag because I'm just not thinking we need 5 more at this point. We'll let other people do the cylinders as I catch. HK105 says, I said it because I tried a lot of different runes from Mechanist Reaper for a specific build, not following the meta, but still good damage. The runes, I don't know. Yeah, what I do with runes is this. I've got a little testing spot in End of Dragons, and I can show you this after this world boss, where I actually go, there's an elite Kieran that goes on a really quick respawn, and I will go there, change runes, hit the thing, change runes again, hit the thing, until it goes down. And the bonus is every once in a while I get some unusual coins out of it, which are a nice little currency. I think I will take some of this food. Testing all those runes can take a long time, but then after a while you start to understand that they're just, a half dozen runes for Condi that you want to test, about 4 or 5 that you want to test for power builds, and then the rest is just pull up the wiki at that point and start sorting by what you're looking to do. I'll catch up on chat in a moment. Just going to go ahead and start hitting the thing here at this point. This one they didn't change, but World Boss memes is World Boss memes. Won't be doing a whole lot of damage here, but it's been a while since I've done this one, clearly. Oh, not even Jadebot could save my ass that time. Go World Boss power. Yeah, nothing is new on this one. Well, that is okay. This is one of those world bosses I point to when I talk about the reason why I dislike world bosses. And it's just because this one is one of those ones they make you do for collections more than anything else. I think that you have to do this for the Roller Beetle collection. I've done this for so many legendary weapons. Oh, look at me just standing in electricity. So yeah, this one's a little hard. I'm just not playing this very well. Go J-Bot. This time the J-Bot has saved my ass. Kill the thing before I die again. Why am I taking these hits? Shows you how good I am at this world boss thing. I gotta learn to world boss. All right, so there we have it. So are these increased rewards are not for the old ones? Okay, well that's all right. It's still redonkulously overpowered loot for what you're doing. Bear with me. I will get us to our next world boss, which will be the Great Jungle Worm. Let us go ahead and get our asses to the Great Jungle Worm. Twilight Arbor waypoint, which I don't have the waypoint for. I will have to make my way to it. Catching up on chat here. Come on, be honest. You are just holding back. I've lost context on that one. Finally, open world content got some love. I don't know if I would say finally on that. I look at the amount of dev resources that are put into this game for open world content. But, I mean, you know, it's a nice little polish. I will absolutely give it up to ArenaNet for that one. I think it's a very good move for them to put this, you know, these little bits of shine on stuff that new players are going to see when Steam comes out. I think this is fantastic. We have an ArenaNet developer here up on their sky scale. Is their sky scale better than yours? No, I have the bearded one. I win. Just going to tag this waypoint and get into spot here. Yeah, you know, GG, going back to what we were talking about with the fractals, yeah, pugging tier 2 and tier 3 is much harder than pugging tier 4 or tier 1. Absolutely it is. So I would absolutely default to going social on that one. Absolutely default into the social on that one. Felday says, I lose my cursor in open world meta events all the time. Yeah, it's not just open world meta events where I lose mine. The other place I would lose my cursor considerably often would be World versus World Zergang. Awful. Absolutely awful experience for me with cursors. And I tried using YOLO mouse. My problem was I could never remember to start up the program before I started Guild Wars 2. It's the same reason I don't use food. You know, this is your brain on drugs. So yeah, I was really happy for this change. Gail says, only drawback to the new cursor is that it isn't quite as accurate in the targeting and the contrasty modes. Yes, yeah. And a good example of that is when you're looking to minimize a screen, it's almost impossible to do it. I really dislike the accuracy of it. But all in all, when it comes to just general targeting, I think it's in a great place. Well, that's pretty swell. My guy says, which of the race's gender has your favorite voice acting? It's the female Asura, is the favorite overall. But the female Norn, at a few points, has these kind of dry Clint Eastwood deliveries that blow my mind. Just such good voice acting. There's the one spot where she's, and I forget the exact quote. It was an Ice Brood Saga, where she makes, you know, it was no big deal how I've died a few times or something like that. And I was just, my mind was blown at the delivery on that. So yeah, I'll look to the female Norn has some really good moments. The female Asura, I think, just tends to be best voice acted overall in the game. The female Sylvari is also really well voice acted. Really well voice acted. My problem with the male human is not that the voice acting isn't good or anything. My problem with the male human is I used to play a lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic, and my mind associates Nolan North's voice with my old characters in SWTOR, which is I get as a weird complaint, but you know, if you're used to somebody's voice saying certain things and then you hear them somewhere else every once in a while, it starts to feel a little bit differently. Least favorites, male Sylvari, the male Sylvari voice actor, not a fan at that point. Catching up a little bit further, male Asura is S tier. The male Asura has that one line when they leave the vendor and they say, "That is all." I was like, oh my god, that breaks me up each and every time. Or even Rare and Valuable, just fantastic. The male Asura voice actor is also super strong. Robin's saying, I love mine all the time. I always thought it was my crappy wireless mouse. Uh, don't, friends don't let friends use wireless. Don't use wireless. Oh, but that's right. You're in a situation where you're like kind of sitting back, whatever, and you kind of need it. But yeah, I would never use a wireless mouse or a wireless keyboard. My thing gets back to my own forgetfulness of having batteries on hand, which I'm just not great with. Jungaloo, AB, Jungaloo, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Best dance equals Sylvari, maybe. I don't know. I think the best dance is actually I think I've got how to dance here, do I? Here we go again with the problems with the targeting on that big cursor. So I like this one. Whoops. I will figure out how to use this at some point. Yeah, this is the problem right here with this. There we go. And yeah, this is my favorite. It is my favorite because if you go and get Whip It by the Daz Band, which is an old kind of disco-ish song from the mid-'80s, this times perfectly to Whip It by the Daz Band. So we will leave it at that. Catching up because Claudia Christian does the player character, Norn female. Okay, and I don't know who she is. I'd never heard her in other games, but she's fantastic. My problem with the male human is I can't get Desmond Miles or Nathan Drake out of my head. Yeah, there we go. I love the male Sylvari, but then I'm English. My problem isn't the accent. The accent is not the issue. My problem with the male Sylvari is just too soft. Some of the delivery is just too soft under situations where I don't think it actually calls for it. But that's just me, My God, I cannot stand female Char. Sounds like a robot. The female Char actually got replaced during season 4. So it's even worse. And if I'm not mistaken, the male Char gets replaced at one point. The male Char's voice actor gets replaced at one point as well, which really hurts. Absolutely. Keeping up here. I thought it was just me with that cursor. No, that cursor for the fine clicking it's just not on the actual tip of the cursor. But that's just me. Commander Ivan Nova in Babylon 5. Gale, don't get me started about Babylon 5. Okay, get me started about Babylon 5. So I'm going back almost 10 years ago. We are in the DVD era, and buying DVD box sets is the big thing. And the place where I worked at that point was right next to like a place that sold DVDs, computers, and stuff like that. So on my breaks, I would go, and every once in a while I would buy these box sets. And one of my best friends at work was always trying to get me to watch Babylon 5. And he was like, oh, you got to watch this show. It's really, really great. It's really fantastic. It's some of the best science fiction ever. And he was a really smart guy who liked science fiction. So finally I go out and I buy this box set of Babylon 5 series, season 1. Now, I recognize that even Star Trek The Next Generation season 1 was objectively poor, but watching Babylon 5 season 1 was like Dynasty in space. It was just awful, the acting and the writing and everything. I just couldn't take it. And I would come in every day after watching 3 or 4 episodes, and I'd talk to my pal and I'd be like, dude, are you kidding me about this show? This is absolutely awful TV. And he was like, oh no, you just got to kind of hang with it. It gets better. I get to the end of season 1 and I've watched like 22 hours of this show. And he's like, okay, now you got to go and buy season 2. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? No, this is where I get off the bus. All right, Babylon 5 talk aside, let us get on the great jungle worm beating of the day. And let's see what happens here. Wow, the Zerging. Check that out. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm a fan. So let's get ready for the new model of the Great Jungle Worm. I guess that's after this other one here dies. All right. Yeah, Gail, I get that it got better. I couldn't abide by another 22 hours of it in case it didn't. And, you know, everybody who sits there and talks to me about science fiction goes back to that show, and I just go like, how did you get past that first season? I couldn't do it. And I would probably have, you know, technically a hard time going back and watching older science fiction, but you're talking to a guy that has no problem watching old 70s episodes of Doctor Who. Okay, so that does look really better. That is nice. I will give it that. Got properly telegraphed red circles, which we didn't have before. Let's actually do some damage instead of just standing here. Ritual husk spawn. Stop the husk before they reach and heal the good jungle worm. Oh, cool. All right. All right. Very cool. What am I doing here? I'm walking against something. Is it giving me that physics pull from... Oh, look. You got to break the break bar. Okay. Good job, Ain't. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So can we actually break the break bar on this? And does it matter? I would hope so. So does this make this better? Probably. Sure, staying alive a lot longer, but not so long that people will struggle trying to get to events. I think they hit the right balance on this. Is it enough to make me go and do world bosses? Maybe not. Is it a positive change to the game? Yes. Yes, I think it is. Very cool. Catch up with chat here in a moment. And more spawned husks. Where are these? There we go. So again, I guess we're just worried about breaking break bars, which I guess is not a component before. Very cool. Very cool. Well, folks, I gotta say it's kind of nice to see them go and put a shine on this older stuff. I hope it means they're open to doing some other stuff, because if they're willing to do this, are they willing to go back and fix the Zaitan fight? That really is the question. If they are willing to do these kind of things, are they willing to go back and fix the Zaitan fight? Because that would really be a step forward, I think. I think that would be really a step forward. All right, what is our next bit of tomfoolery here on the world boss chain? Claw of Jormag and then Shadow Behemoth. Well, I guess we'll do Claw of Jormag. What the hell? I mean, I haven't done Claw of Jormag, like, in years. Probably not years. What's the last time they made me do Claw of Jormag? I'm sure there was a collection or something. All right, catching up with chat. Okay, Dynasty in Space. You already had all that scar damage to overcome. That is because Doctor Who is endearing. Is Doctor Who endearing? I think Doctor Who is for all its faults, and when I say Doctor Who, I'm not talking about the post-2000 stuff. I'm talking about the old Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker days, which is my Doctor Who days, you know, is probably telling you all how old I am saying these kind of stuff. But I mean, some of it was also very well written science fiction. Some of it was absolute garbage. But some of it was just really good science fiction. Things like Genesis of the Daleks was just good story. I thought, anyways. But that is where I stand. I mean, I quite liked the newer iterations of Doctor Who, though I haven't watched the last maybe 4 or 5 years of it. But quite enjoy the older stuff. And, it's where I'm willing to look past the bad special effects. Some of it does have some very interesting ideas, and I think really to its credit for its time. Brickbar previously went down like flushing a toilet. Pretty fast and easy, absolutely. But it has to be fast and easy, because after next week, when the new car smell has worn off, is it still going to be doable by the people who think that this is their main content loop? I think that's important. I think that is really important. Oh my god, I started playing this past year. My girlfriend has been playing for years and finally got me to. I killed Zaitan and went, was that it? The Zaitan fight is so bad on so many levels for so many reasons. Oh my lord. Victory or death is just such an uneven experience. And I think, getting to the final bit and capping that off with a 10-man strike mission. And when I say a 10-man strike mission, I mean a 10-man strike mission with all the difficulty of Shiver Peaks Pass. I mean a really easy strike mission. I would love that. I would be in love with that idea. Or, a 10-man mission that took victory or death and turned it into something like Forging Steel, I think would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a really good way to get people involved. I just think the whole press F to win is so counterintuitive and sets up this really bad expectation with the game. And when you look at people who have these expectations about this game that say that the game should not present a level of friction to them beyond what is presented in Corteria, a lot of that expectation is built by that crappy final encounter in the game that is really solved by pressing one button to win. And I don't think it even does the story justice. I don't think that you really understand what's going on at that point. I think it gets to what one of the stories game developers said, and I think it was Bobby Stein that said that one of the parts where the story falls down is that the player doesn't realize that they are putting the last killing stroke on Zaitan with the laser after having starved Zaitan for like the last 5 instances, right? You go through all these instances where you're starving Zaitan of his magic, and then you get to the last one where you're shooting him, and you don't actually realize very well, it's not painted out very well in the story, that you're starving the Elder Dragon of its magic by doing things like cutting off the flow of magical artifacts to him and stuff like that. So that's not made really clear. And then you get there and you're pressing F to win, and it's just a cluster fuck on many, many levels. And I just think if they went back and pulled a mulligan on that one, that would be the best thing they could do. But I do understand it's probably much harder to do something like that than it is to change the mechanics on a few world bosses. Was hoping I would get to kill him and not pew pew, and he's gone. Yeah. I love watching all kinds of stuff from the 70s. Almost every afternoon I watch some classic horror sci-fi from them. I'm a big fan of 70s and 80s sci-fi television, particularly the British stuff. I think British sci-fi from the 70s is top-notch stuff. The movies from that period I thought were a little more cerebral during that period. You go through that period where sci-fi in the 50s and 60s is largely pulp and cheese. And you get to the 70s when it starts to take it more seriously at a few points. And you get things like Planet of the Apes and things like that, which is a series I actually quite enjoyed for all the memery on it. And I think that there was a period during the 70s where science fiction kind of reached its peak. I'm a big fan of that kind of period. Yeah, Zartan is still in desperate need of a revival with a cool strike or something, because after that slog through that is the personal story. Zartan is a disappointing payoff. I am remembering Critic Nadic's video. Any of you guys who remember Critic Nadic, where he was working through the personal story, and yeah, he was hamming it up a little bit for content, but then he got to that last one, and it's just him staring at the screen, bored as hell, pressing one key, and beating the game. And it's no wonder you lose a lot of people at that point from this franchise when you set this big fight up with this really epic storyline, and then the payoff is just awful. Awful payoff. Awful payoff. Doctor Who went downhill during its newest run in my. It just wasn't well written and lacked the charm and consistency. It depends on what you meant by newest. I mean, I liked the stuff after the revival, and there was a lack of charm in some of the Colin Baker years as well. But then you got into the newer stuff, and I'm forgetting the one guy's name who was did it twice, and he was quite good, the younger fellow. But he was quite good. And in fact, the two of the newer guys I quite enjoyed. They lost me just because I've been watching other things, and I catch up on Doctor Who in big binges, to be honest with you guys. I'm very excited to catch the newer two kind of run-throughs on it. But I have been watching, for the last couple of months, I've been catching up on Walking Dead. I've been catching up not only on Walking Dead, but on Fear of the Walking Dead. Fear of the Walking Dead is actually a show I quite enjoy on and off. So I've been catching up on that. And then I was watching Kenobi. I watched Kenobi, which I thought was really strong. Really strong. I quite liked Kenobi. Still doable with 20% of today's new car smell. We shall see. My husband recently discovered Sapphire and Steel. I've not even heard of Sapphire and Steel. Yeah, I used to watch him. He was fun to watch. Absolutely. Newest, I mean the most recent, Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who is really terrible. No clue. Haven't really touched it. I haven't really touched it at all. But, there's a long history of the first year of a lot of doctors not being super strong. And even Tom Baker's first year. And I mean, I always looked at Tom Baker as the quintessential Doctor Who, what other doctors should have been. And even his first year, he was not particularly strong, David Tennant and Matt Smith, those are the guys I was absolutely talking about. Quite enjoyed Tennant. I enjoyed Tennant a lot more than Matt Smith, but I enjoyed Tennant more because the stories were better for Tennant. I thought Tennant had some better writing in his stories than Matt Smith did, but enjoyed both of them very much, very much. Tennant and Smith were good. Capaldi grew on me. Capaldi is the one that I'm most interested in watching, because I think there is value to the character of Doctor Who if he's a little bit older. But yeah, there is that. Yeah, David Tennant was fantastic. He makes it up top 5. He makes it top 5. He doesn't hit first place, but he makes it top 5. He does. So here we are at Claw of Jormag. We will do Claw of Jormag, and then we will do the, I believe Svarnir Shaman is after Claw of Jormag. Let's take a look here. Event time. No, Shadow Behemoth. We will do Shadow Behemoth at that point. Catching up with the chat. Well, the showrunner who did Tennant's run is returning, so maybe good news on... Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's anything, I could really say about the franchise at this point. My interest in the franchise is much deeper before the revival with Chris Eccleston than it is afterwards. My interest in the franchise is Peter Davison. My interest is Tom Baker and Sylvester McCoy. I still think Sylvester McCoy may have been the best Doctor, to be honest with you. Yeah, David Tennant is pretty a pretty amazing actor. So I've not done Claw of Jormag in a while. Fresh memes for y'all. This is good news. And we'll hit some stuff. I don't know. This may be my least favorite world boss, to be honest with you guys. Oh, wow. Look at me. I am encumbered. All this world boss loot. Holy smokes. My bags are frickin' filled. What are these? Treasure hunting kits. Ain't no one got time for that. Luck. Jade runestones, which we will send to Caddy, because I have no use for these right now. So, this is a couple of spots. Wow, how do people get such full bags? I'll be honest with you, Elseworlds, I'm usually a little bit better about my bags than these. I've been kind of testing this character for a few days. So when I'm testing characters, I tend not to spend a lot of time with inventory management, and I do end up suffering. Usually I'm a little better than this. The other thing is that people may not understand from my play style, I play so many characters that inventory management becomes a real problem. Inventory management, when you're running a lot of alts and you can't put like a bunch of 32 slot bags on all your characters, you end up living off these world versus world bags, which is what I'm doing. So these 18 slot bags and the 20 slot bag. So it doesn't always become a problem, but under, you know, protracted play sessions, it can absolutely become a problem. And, you know, I don't really want to just take time on stream to sort my bags, but I really should just go and hit a vendor at some point. But, yeah, you know, no, fair enough. I'm also lazy as fuck, Elseworlds. There is that needs to be kind of factored into the equation. But usually I'm better. It's more because I'm just juggling so many alts that inventory management becomes something I'll do on a weekly basis. I'll just let all my bags fill up, and then on a weekly basis I'll just sit there and sort through all my characters. And then after that, what I will do is I will then grab all my unidentified gear bags. And am I even hitting anything at this point? I don't think I am, to be honest with you guys. I'll just sit here and heal some people. Lazy is legit. Well, you know, the laziness is more about, and I'll be honest with you, it's more about time. Because it ends up so often that I'll sit there trying to come up with something and test something, and then I'll hop over onto another character that might be better for testing. And if I do that, what happens is then I've not taken the time to do it, and it becomes something that's hanging over my head. I don't know. It's like anything else, you know. You either take the time to do it or you don't. I'm not going to pretend I spend a lot of time in any MMOs really sorting bags, etc. I'll just make use of myself healing people. One of the nice things about doing this this build in Selly is that the heal becomes an actual thing, and you can actually create some value this way. He says as he's about to drop. I'll just give some people some more boons, and then rely on people to keep me alive. Yeah, just not a fan of this one. Not a fan. Not bad green numbers. The overload on this will pulse the alacrity as well. So we can do that. Pop over. Pulse a little bit of protection on people, as well as the alacrity. So, you know, you can off support on this Selly as well, which I think is pretty good for open world memory. I won't complain too much. That's why I'm enjoying this build. It comes about 15% of doing it in all damage runes. So I pick you up. I pick you up because you will pick me up. And that's just what open world and Guild Wars 2 is all about. let's do this. I think we'll do one more of these world bosses at this point. And the Claw of Jormag is now dead. Oh, just kill it. Kill it, dudes. Oh, I'm going to need a res to get my loot. There it is. All right. I have my loot. Our last world boss of the morning will be Shadow Behemoth. So let's go see what they've changed on the Shadow Behemoth, which is actually really nice nostalgia for this game. I'm a big fan. Oh, so I don't have that. So there we go. Catching up on the chat here at this point. Yeah, I've been able to try Celestial Ellie. Much more survivable than I'm used to. I just wish that I could do that with Weaver. I'm going to try an idea I had with Weaver over the next couple of days. But Elseworlds, if you are running into problems with Weaver, my go-to on Weaver these days is to run it in Trailblazers and run it for full Condi. You will find it is very survivable and does really nice damage, and kind of gives you the footing that you need to really kind of tank a few hits and, you know, not have to play squish around all the mechanics. And the damage is nice. The damage is nice. On that one, you want to run like Runes of the Undead. So you're going to get so much toughness on that. And because on the Runes of the Undead, you get the conversion, the 7% toughness into condition damage, that it becomes really, really viable at that point. The real problem becomes, you know, getting into all that Trailblazers gear. But Trailblazers Weaver is absolutely a thing, and I absolutely recommend it. If you want a cheap variant, Dire Weaver is also a thing. You can put Weaver in Dire gear, and it's also pretty livable at that point. Oof, that Trailblazers gear is, yeah, you know, Elseworlds with the Trailblazer stuff, you know, stat selectable armor boxes are absolutely your best friend. Absolutely your best friend. But I hear ya. Trailblazer's not always the best course of action here. So I think we're just going to do this last one and then call her a stream at that point. We've been going for a couple of hours, and I think we'll save the story stuff maybe for our Saturday morning cartoon memes. Might be the way to the play on that one. But this has been good. I mean, I've really enjoyed walking through this content. This has been a... Now, why does the boat spawn here if we can walk here? Interesting. All right. So what I'm looking for is Caddy in the middle of all this right now. And I'm looking for Caddy because I'm going to see. All right, Caddy, did you buy it? Did you buy the cat? Did you buy the cat, Caddy? No, she did not buy the cat. Sad days. There we have it. So yeah, I mean, with the Trailblazers gear, I'm absolutely always going to go back to stat selectable boxes, or just, you know, changing a set, because it's not as bad as it used to be. What is a Maguma Lily running these days? How much is a Maguma Lily? So Maguma Lily is 1 gold. That's not as bad. When I crafted my gear, Maguma Lilies were 5 gold a piece, and we didn't have stat selectable boxes. And of course we had to walk uphill to school both ways in the snow. But yeah, it's not awful, but again, that's just not within some players' reach. But that is that. Let's take a moment and see if there has been anything posted by the developers about this patch. Just letting this load. And yike, that's an expensive... It's $1,600 for the cuddly cat? Well, so be it. Game update notes, nothing. Living Season 3 moment, yeah, no, okay. Nothing on Reddit. Nothing on Reddit, but Lord Farron memes. Well, that's cool. Ooh, data mining. Oh, there's a new cape. Nobody told me there was a cape. Tropical feather cape. Really? Yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's good for... There's a nicer one, I'm told. Is there a nicer one? Let us take a look at the store. There's a nicer cape. Wandering Weapon Master cape. Okay. Okay, now see, that's not so bad. Still wouldn't buy it, but... yeah, it's not so bad. Okay. Let's see, what else? Jade Tech outfit is available. Or not available, but coming soon, according to the data mining. Let's look at what has been data mining. Those of you guys who do not want any kind of spoilers, I'm going to be putting up some chat links here and taking a look at some of the data mine stuff. So if that is something you do not like, I will ask that you just avoid the screen. Let's go ahead. JTech Raptor skin. So I will cut and paste this into the chat. If I can manage to do it. There we go. JTech Raptor skin. Can we preview it? Well, wow. That's ugly AF. Okay, JTech outfit. I hope it's green and crazy too. Let's take a look at that. Preview the JTech outfit. Yeah, not something I'd wear. Not something I'd wear. I kind of like that hat. Wish that hat was available somewhere else. Let's see. The Fixer Wrench, which can't be viewed. Watch Night Greaves. Oh, okay. So the new armor piece from the Living World. Let's take a look at the new Greaves. Let us take a look at the Watch Night Greaves. Oh, those are nice. Okay, that's heavier. The light one's just the same. Yeah. Okay, no change on that. Graham's trophy bag. We won't worry about that. Oh, Pavilion Champions medal. Pavilion Champions. I guess the festival is coming up. Festival of the Four Winds is coming up. Pavilion Champions Wolfblade. I guess we can't preview that. Siege Turtle Mount unlock. This is only available. Okay. Invisible Staff. What? What is this? And this will preview. Okay, let's, or will it? Pulling this up. And then still just pulling this up. So the invisible staff. What? This is a sword. I'm missing something here. What is this? It's a nice sword. I'll give it that. Huh. Probably because it's invisible. That's why you can't see it. Alright. Cool new cosmetics out of the year. Let's catch up on chat here. Bear with me for a moment. I'm still in the process of stab swapping my extended stuff to Celestial. Just need the helm and weapons now. 7 days to go. Can you not actually buy those now? Can you not buy like a Celestial... Let's see, it's a crafting material, isn't it? So what if we go Celestial? Can you not buy the upgrade components? Other... I thought we were now able to buy the insignias and sell the insignias on the trading post. No, you still can't sell those on the trading post? Then can't you? You can buy the weapons and armor though now, right? Yeah, you can buy the armor if you're buying these. I thought that they made the insignias tradable. That's brutal. Okay, let's do this world boss meet and see how this goes. It is Mentor Tag Palooza. Still account bound on inscriptions and insignias. Well, that makes no sense. Like, why? Why is that a thing? Okay, well, I guess this is Guild Wars 2's gear progression. Oh well. I guess I'll put an apple up. Let's, can I mentor here from here? I can mentor here. I will mentor. Just to have another apple on the screen. There we have it. Okay, so there it is. It has spawned. It doesn't look that much differently. So they didn't change the look on this too much. Still impressive. Still super impressive. That really is nice. Revive some peepos. Oh, look at that. So now we got green circles. I think this was like everybody's first world boss, Elseworlds. I think everybody did this one first. That's kind of cool. That isn't as drastic as the fire elemental stuff, but it's still pretty good. It does seem like even the portals here are a little bit beefier too. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm a fan. So after a disastrous patch 2 weeks ago, they've given us a kind of a nice little patch. This is good news. Maybe some people did start as Norn or Asura. That's also possible. I guess that does carry a fair bit. This was totally my first world boss, though. I remember seeing this the first time and just being like, WTF. And again, you know, this gets back to what I was saying at the beginning of the stream. The thing that Guild Wars 2 does best is spectacle. Underworld portals have spawned. So better signaling on the mechanics. But I just remember seeing this the first time and being like, this game is just amazing. Even with like a quarter of the people here, it just felt like something special. Gets might on the peepos for when this comes back. So many people taken by surprise at Shadow Behemoth Weird. Yeah, that was always my favorite, was you'd walk past these little events wondering why people were sitting there. It's funny. Other games don't concentrate people as well as this game does. And when you see people concentrated on in other games, I always used to think there was some kind of exploit going on. So when I got to this game, I was like, when I went to the flax farm in Verdant Brink and things like this, I always thought people were exploiting or something, because like I was not used to this kind of gameplay that involved all these people stacking and everything like that. So I just assumed people were farming rewards or something like that. I just didn't get it at first. When you come from other MMOs that don't do this kind of thing, you can be a little bit jarring at first, particularly all the visual noise. Which I suppose, you know, if fixing world bosses is on the table, maybe a thought about visual noise beyond the little settings on my cursor would be nice. I'm immediately curious when you see 50 people in one spot. Yeah, exactly. And again, that's going to be, again, one of the strengths, absolute strengths of Guild Wars 2, particularly considering other options. And there it goes. One newly retooled Shadow Behemoth, and I am a fan. And my bags are too full for my loot. I'm going to have to throw out some Dragonite. Oh my god, my gold per hour. Let's loot that, and there we have it. All right. Plus the people who came from games where you're penalized from joining against one enemy. Oh, wow. You know, I don't even think about that. I don't even think about that, Gail, but that's absolutely true. That a lot of MMOs actively penalize you for like being the second person to hit something. Holy smokes, you know, Guild Wars 2 really has spoiled me that way. But oh yeah, Elseworlds, that's absolutely a thing. Tavo, is that good rewards? It's okay. Extra champ bags more than anything else. You know, in that little bit, I had some bags already, but a few champ bags. It's a little bit more rewarding than it was before. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's not exactly overpowered loot. A couple extra champ bags, and you're good to go. I mean, even WoW doesn't do that anymore since like 2016. Yeah. Good rewards for 5 minutes of fighting. Chance of a nice exotic. Yeah, you know, go do tech or a couple of the other ones. There's a chance that Ascended drops. Yeah, it couldn't be better. It's beautiful. All right, my friends, this is where I'm calling the stream today. I am going to thank you all very, very much for kind of hanging out here. On Saturday, I'll save my story memes for Saturday, and we will pump through those for a little while, and we'll do that on Saturday morning. I did enjoy episode 3 of season 1. But hey, thank you guys all very much for hanging out with me here today. You had a lot of other places to do it, and I really do appreciate it. I'm going to remind you to have fun in game. Min-max your real life. And yeah, see you on Saturday.